Hello. What's up, everybody? How's it going? It is Thursday. Welcome to the show. We're here, we're audible, everybody's present and accounted for. Hello. Yes, sound off, Baphomet. Hello, everyone. Welcome in. So, we are going to be just kind of chilling for the first part of the stream, as per usual. And my plan is, I guess, to just kind of like respond to the Republican debate or maybe some highlights from the Republican debate. We've probably got a couple of other small news items that we could cover over the course of today, but the main deal is like, let's see what's up with the Republican Party right now. Because one of the major things that's up with the Republican Party right now is that they didn't do so well in the midterms. Maybe that's another thing we should cover tonight. What's going on with them in their old midterms? Because yeah, it didn't apparently go very well. Watching Sam Cedar get drunk and watch the Republican debate certainly made it more fun. That's a fair assessment. We don't really do drinking streams all that often. I suppose, once in a blue moon it couldn't hurt. Yes, I saw Danica Roem run the state senate in Virginia, which is, it's state senate. So it's not like she's going to to Washington D.C. or anything, but it is still significant because she was in the House of Representatives before. I don't know if this is actually true. This is the impression that I get. I get the impression that it's kind of like the beginner move to go in for the House of Representatives, and that like it's like you step up. You start in the House, then you become a senator, and then maybe you run for House at the federal level, House of Delegates, but same basic thing. Oh, does Virginia have a different thing? They have a House of Delegates instead of House of Representatives. Interesting. I cannot breathe through my nose, and it's driving me crazy, so I apologize if I am a big-time mouth breather in this stream. Anyway, hit the like button real fast if you're enjoying hanging out, and even if you decide you don't want to chill for the chill part of the stream, that's cool. Still hit the like button and then go. Danica is in the perfect position to give Youngkin hell. I certainly hope she does well. I mean, clearly, she was elected to the House of Representatives, House of Delegates, or what have you, and she was in that role successfully for a number of years because she has enough name recognition to now run and succeed at going into the Senate, which, I guess it's because there's more, like, the smaller districts for the House of Representatives, I guess, is part of it, like that there's just more opportunity to join House of Representatives, whereas in the Senate, there tend to be fewer total members of the body. People like her. She's a good politician. Well, that's good to hear, I guess. I guess it's good that she's good at her job. Oh, my leggies. So, I don't have a lot of personal news to share. Sometimes we do like some just like talking about whatever I'm interested in moments, but I'm like, I've just been so fucking constantly busy and then trying to just struggle with my ADHD and like alternating back and forth between those things, like being crazy busy and then my ADHD is like grinding things to a halt every once in a while. And it's hard to keep things rolling. I have so much stuff to do. What's up, mama? Not much. We've just kind of been shooting the shit. Talked about Danica Roem winning in Virginia's Senate. Trans woman. So that's cool. Virginia is pushing back against radical MAGA GOP. Also, they hate the abortion ban ideas that Youngkin would have loved to push through if the GOP had won. I think there have been like 7 states now that have quite recently had these like opportunities to protect abortion rights. Like in Kansas, the case was that they were trying to make it basically our constitution as it's currently written says we have the constitutional right to an abortion, and they were trying to pass an amendment to the Constitution to make it legal to limit the right, basically. And it failed because we came out and said, hell no, that's not going to happen. And then 6 more times when it's been left up to the voters. They keep doing the same thing. It's the same strategy, by the way. The same thing that they did in Kansas, which it was an August election on an off election year. Like, not on a presidential election year. I don't even think it was, like, I don't think that many representatives were up for re-election at that time either. And I don't think that it was at the same time as, like, the gubernatorial race or something like that. Like, they just did it at the time that they assumed that people were going to pay the least amount of attention. And they keep doing that all across the country in all these different states where they're trying to pass constitutional amendments, basically, to, like, limit the rights to abortion. Folks are going, like, fuck you, no. Like, are you kidding me? No. And Republicans just don't seem to know what to do. Like, they keep campaigning on abortion, not realizing that this is a losing issue, even amongst Republican women, you know? Even, like, because there's, you know, Republican grandmas out there who have a lick of empathy and common sense and understand that blanket bans on abortion are going to harm little girls the most. Trans joy when the Republicans lose. Trans joy, for sure. Absolutely. So, hopefully everybody's been having a good week so far. It's certainly been a fun one. I have been outside so much. I've decided to get into a habit of going on walks, and there are some just really gorgeous places in Kansas to go walk in, I will say. Trans joy when turfs lose. True, yeah. So, is there something specific you're referencing there, Miss Seaside to Hill Granny? Because I do know that, like, Moms for Liberty, that group Moms for Liberty, they also have been trying to infiltrate a bunch of school boards across the country, and they, by and large, have lost in these elections as well. Depressed egg me would be very angry at how much I like being outside now. Outside is so good. I'm so glad that Republicans suck at being likable. They're just not good at marketing themselves in a world where more people have access to information, you know? The more people have access to information, and, like, the internet has connected us in a way that we've never been connected before. Whereas, you know, like, 30 years ago when I was born, it might have been easy to believe, like, oh, these Palestinians are all terrorists and, like, blah, 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 blah. I don't really believe that, to be totally clear. That was me quoting someone. I just, like, think that it would have been easier to believe back then the kind of lies that are told about individuals and groups when you don't have access to them, you know? If you're totally cut off, like, maybe some Americans are going to be sympathetic because they're like, I work with a Palestinian who lost family members in an Israeli bombing, you know? And the media said that it was in response to a terrorist attack, but my coworker's family are not terrorists, so who the fuck knows, like... Magic. Anyway, yeah, so I kind of, I guess, appreciate that in a lot of ways our world is more connected than it ever has been, even though we feel like it's really divided. And, like, it's quite, things are very partisan right now. Like, things are definitely, like, there's a lot of animosity, right? But at the same time, I think kind of transcending that is this greater degree of empathy and understanding. And, like, people get indignant when others' rights are being infringed upon. And, like, again, because we have the ability, like, we have access to people's stories in a way that we did not before. So I wonder if, and I hope, I guess, that that is making a bigger difference in terms of how we understand each other and widens the extent of our empathy for one another. Wow, that would be crazy. Water is really good. and delicious. I think, did I just upload it today? I think I may have uploaded today the video about water shortages, upcoming water shortages. So I encourage everybody to always check out the videos on the channel and possibly share those, because frankly, the videos on the channel are not getting recommended very much right now. So any shares and likes and interactions that you can do with them are going to be highly beneficial. Have you looked into Partners for Ethical Care? I have not. I may have heard of it before. I feel like I've heard of it before, but I'm not intimately familiar with the organization. So yeah. What have I been doing the last couple days? How do we chill? How do we have a chill time at the beginning of stream? I guess I need to tee up some fun topics as well. Maybe that's a thing that I should do for this first hour, is like actually tee up in the same way that I tee up news topics. Like, do we need to start cultivating positive news to talk about at the beginning of stream? It's not like I don't have anything positive to talk about. It's just that, like, my life has gotten kind of into this groove this week, and I'm like, okay, well, I'm going on walks, and I'm going to the gym, and I'm making dinner. Like, oh man, I have a roast going right now. I'm so excited for it. Hit like on the video if you're a fan of pot roast. I started it earlier today at like, I don't know, about noon or so, maybe noon 30. And yeah, it's going to be ready after stream, and I'm so excited. The roast of Luxander. Honestly, I don't know. Am I emotionally secure enough at this point to do a roast? Like, to be roasted? I don't know. I'm doing a roast right now. I'm doing a roast, yes, but being roasted is a different thing. I'm not being roasted right now. I can handle doing a roast. I've always liked bad news first, so the good news gives me a glimmer of hope. Yeah, it's like, the thing is that people don't all get the notifications at once, so I think that a lot of streamers have this like pre-stream time. If Vosh, I think, just lets his stream be online for like 30 minutes before he even comes onto the show. And like Demon Mama, she does her like chill time at the beginning of the stream, and then she goes into all her politics, and then if she's doing a chill time at the end of the stream, it's usually going to be like a video game. And I feel like, I don't know if other streams do as much like loose conversation time as we do. You do get bugs. The bugs, aren't they so cute? Babies. Okay, take this down. Seen any interesting fungi on your walks? Kansas has been pretty dry this autumn, compared to other years, so there aren't a lot of fungi. I don't know where DM gets the energy from to stream for that long. So here's something that I've started to wonder about. How often do other people actually do this? Like there's Hassan, who is a freak superhuman, who doesn't he stream like 10, 12 hours every day, basically? Like, am I wrong? Like how often is a normal amount of streaming? is a question that I have, I guess. Oh my god, so much of my hair is coming out right now. It's not good. Autumn leaves have been beautiful in Virginia. Yes, I have been very much enjoying the autumn. Can you see them? Yeah, you can see my little... I've been making little leaves. Aren't they so cute? This one is a maple leaf. Wow. Such a cutie pie. So, yeah, I've been decorating for the autumn. A lot of streamers do about 2 a week. Okay. Yeah, I'm thinking that, like, 3 a week might be not only, like, too much for me in terms of getting my responsibilities all taken care of, but also I wonder if there's an extent to which, as a streamer, you do need to, like, create anticipation around when you're going to be live. There's one thing that I would say it's good to be available, probably. It's like, yeah, you like being predictable and on a schedule, like, you know, folks know when they can show up, and they know that if they don't catch you tonight, then they might catch you the next time on a different day of the week. But I don't know. I'm just thinking, like, I've been mulling it over for a while. Just like making a change to my schedule, like switching days or something. So still mulling it over. Not sure what I'm gonna do. Gonna figure it out. You've been stabbed. Ugh, the estrogen. Oh, at the plasma house. I feel like do you just go to the plasma? Have you just decided to go to the plasma house when I stream so that you have an entertainment source while you're at the, because I feel like every time I stream, you're donating plasma. Except on Sundays, because I think you can only donate twice a week. Tuesdays and Thursdays after class. I guess that works out. You just have the entertainment and company of chat while donating plasma. Shout out to all my homies out there who are poor and have to donate plasma to round things out. Because I know that shit is difficult. We've donated plasma before, and I did consider doing it again over this past year. And then I was like, dude, I feel like shit after I donate plasma, and it is not good. Like, I think that the amount of money that I would get out of it is not compensatory for how much it would negatively impact my ability to do other things and, like, my relationships with other people. Because, boy, I cannot talk to people. I just cannot speak to anyone when I'm, like, recovering from donating plasma. It sucks. When we rage react, I hurt my fingies typing rants one-handed. Ursa, shout out. Shout out to y'all making ends meet, you know, by selling your body parts. I can't with undifferentiated connective tissue disease. The blood draws drain me enough. Yeah. And I don't like giving blood either. It's upsetting. At least you can get money for blood and plasma donations in the US. So you actually can't get paid. I don't know if you can't, but they don't pay for blood. And technically you're not being paid for your plasma either. You're being paid for your time that you sit there doing the plasma, you know? Like, technically there's a fine line differentiation. just a little bloodletting. Don't worry. What's up, Kitty Tick? Hello. Tendency for anemia. Took some iron supplements. I have been eating so much protein shit that I'm sure that I'm getting plenty of iron. But listen, I'm an adult. I'm a responsible adult now. I'm 30, okay? I'm almost 30. When I eat cereal, I eat Total. And Total cereal is called Total because technically it's supposed to be like the equivalent of taking a multivitamin. And it has like the daily recommended amount of all these different things. And I think iron is one of them. Little tip from me to you, if you want to eat cereal, but you feel like it can't justify it because it's too sugary or whatever, it's like Total is fairly expensive. I mean, all cereal is expensive nowadays, but you just eat the one bowl and limit yourself to that. Maybe one big bowl. And then there you go. That's your adult way to eat cereal and still feel like you're doing a healthy thing. The center I go to just switched to a volumetric model for payment, so it definitely is for the plasma. Oh, wow. Even before, it's not like we got paid more if it took longer. I mean, that's true. When I went, it was by weight, I guess. You would get a different amount based on, like, you're in this, like, weight class, this weight group. And, of course, I guess I would get paid a lot more in doing it now because I weigh more than I did. I probably weigh, like, 20+ pounds more than I did back then. In chemistry classes, you can extract iron from Total cereal for labs. Common high school fun lab. Oh, that's neat. That's fun. I did not know that you could do that. Nifty. Oh, gosh. I'm always open to suggestions from chat. If you have anything that you would like to discuss on the stream, you're welcome to suggest them in the chat, and I'll probably respond to your comments. But we also have the stream recommendations channel in the Discord if you're not already a member. That's a useful little resource. Oh my gosh. Nope, that's not right. It's not something that I want to open. I want this open. Okay. My hair is looking all kinds of crazy today. Whee! There we go. I have so much volume today. Wow. Yes, we love being gay F-slurs. Absolutely. Being homosexual queer fags. We should start a Horty D&D game. I mean, we did in a previous server that I have. We have you ever rocked a mohawk? Once. Yes, I did. But yeah, one time on the Discord server previous to this one, we did a tabletop game once, like a one-shot, and it was a lot of fun. And we do have in the Discord server a channel for TTRPGs because Max, who's one of the moderators in the Discord and here on the chat, is interested in doing some kind of tabletop stuff in the Discord server, like a Horty D&D game. So if you're interested, maybe join the Discord server and go into the like area where you can assign yourself additional roles so that you can get notifications for stuff, and like you can get yourself some notifications if we ever do a D&D game. You said I have so much volume, wow, like the second after I turned the stream volume up. Well, I just, look at my gorgeous hair. Look at it. Look at it. Look at it. It's amazing. I take really good care of it, okay? So it's gorge. Gorge. So, yeah. So how long is the debate? How long do we have tonight? Republican primary debate. Hello, Violet, in the YouTube chat. That light on your shiny hair makes it look red and awesome. My hair was dyed red once upon a time. Oh yeah, this part I guess is kind of glowing right now. I could put it back over here. It's all kind of like sticking to my head right now. Because I'm trying to grow this part out. It's kind of an awkward length. Looks better on this side. There we go. Word to the wise, if you get an undercut and you cut it like as far down as you reasonably can, it's going to be Velcro for a while, and the longer part of your hair is going to stick to it. So just be prepared. Be prepared. There's no dye that does not destroy my hair, so I'm just natural, dirty blonde curls. I dyed my hair with henna. I don't know if you've ever used henna. It's not great for everyone's hair. And I actually do think that it might be better for my hair that I'm not doing it anymore. But I'm not totally sure either. 100% on both your exams today. Nice. Good job. High fives. So, 2024 Republican Party presidential debates. Full video from NBC. Okay, so this thing is like 2 hours long. Maybe we should just go over, like, are there some highlights? My hair has ringlets. Your hair has ringlets? Yo, that's crazy. My hair is so flat for the most part. Anytime it has a little bit of volume, I'm like, yay! And that's like, mostly it's when it's frizzy. It's like frizziness that gives it volume. Anyway, so I'm teeing us up. I'm trying to figure out if there are some like specific highlights that I can look at instead of watching the entire 2-hour debate. Because like, girl, I have a roast on right now. I want to be able to eat it when it's ready. Okay, so this article from CNN is claiming that this debate unlike their first debate, was a little bit more on point and like less interruptions and crosstalk. Almost all was focused on foreign policy. So yeah, so I guess they just really didn't talk about a lot of the stuff that we think, oh, this would be really impactful on your ability to get hired, like for the job, like to get elected. Okay, so I guess the thing that's noteworthy about this is that they did finally talk about abortion in the last 20 minutes or so. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out how to tee up this little segment. Okay, it was like Ohio was the main win. Okay, cool. Just getting my notes together here. Just getting my thoughts together. Oh no, what are you doing? Oh my gosh. Baphomet says, literally me. It says F-slur in the 1750s. Foreign policy meaning how much more bloodthirsty they are regarding Palestinians, I guess. I don't know if it was... I don't know if I want to cover, like, a whole bunch of fucking Republicans talking about Palestine. Like, I really don't want that. I really don't know what they would have to discuss about that, because they're all going to be pro-Israel. Ooh. I made that water very lemony. It was more lemonier than I thought it was going to be. Very lemony. Anyway. So, yeah, I'm just kind of trying to get my thoughts together for the debate part. And so for the last 20 minutes, it said they would talk about the abortion thing. So I might have to scrub through and kind of find it. I have got Undertale songs stuck in my head. Been listening to Undertale songs, and they're stuck in my head now. Yeah, these Republican presidential debates, it's a competition to see who's the biggest jerk. A jerk-off, if you will. I don't will. Don't even talk to me or my children. Okay. Let me actually listen to this a bit.
We're going to be able to do this, and that requires discipline. So
yeah, Rami, whatever.
Security. One of the things that's causing problems.
National security.
The military
to
be able to deal with it. And so dealing with both law enforcement and you're right, we have done this, we can do this, but we got to give them the tools.
Addict, he had taken some pill that happened to be laced with fentanyl, and it was a fatal overdose.
Afghanistan and Iraq war,
okay.
And we owe it to them to treat.
Came close to have an abortion, but she decided.
And we owe it to them to treat it like the cancer that it is.
Mr. Ramaswamy.
No, I think that's...
How quick that flow stops. The second thing is we'll send special operations in to take out the cartels. We need to go to where
so she is talking about...
I'm sorry, instead of really focus on falls into addiction, and we owe it to them to treat it like it is something that is needed in our country. I do agree with Chris. One of the first things that we have to do is really focus on mental health and addiction center.
Okay, I was trying to figure out what she was talking about.
Mr. Ramaswamy.
Okay, I think, is this where you're about to switch to?
Mexico shoot them stone cold dead at the border?
One thing I just want to say, and how we're talking about this issue is, like Ron, I've actually met many parents across this country who have lost their kids to laced pharmaceuticals.
Okay.
Like Kansas and Kentucky.
Okay.
Last night's
that wall.
Thank you,
That's
Mr. Ramaswamy.
Practical and actually get this job done.
Thank you. Kristen.
Okay, hold on. Now we're getting into the...
Let's talk.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so she's gonna now start talking about the thing that I actually want to talk about today. My eyeball. Okay, great. Did you hear that Jill Stein is throwing her name into the presidential race? I doesn't she always like? I mean, doesn't she kind of just always does? I feel like doesn't she always run third party? She's Green Party every time. Fentanyl discussion is just code for anti-immigration sentiment. I mean, and it's also like, I mean, it's usually racist too, because it's not, you know, the drug policing of quote unquote fentanyl within urban environments. My eyeball. You know when your eyeballs are super fucking dry? Anyway, Howie Hawkins was the Green Party nominee in 2020. Oh, girl, I have no idea. So Jill Stein, but is Jill Stein running Green Party? Where is she running? Jill Stein. What are you doing? Yeah, she announces 2024 bid under Green Party line. Yeah, she's... man, shit, I don't know. Am I gonna vote for Jill Stein? I don't know anything about her. I guess I would have to know what her view on fucking Israel-Palestine is, since that's the main thing that has, like, really finally pushed me away from Biden. Just pour a glass of water directly on your eyeballs. I know. It's so easy, and I'm just acting like it's so hard. I'm just making a big deal out of nothing. Just squirt water directly in there. Jill Stein ate dinner with Putin. Oh, wow. I never knew that people actually didn't want immigrants for the sake of not having brown people around until I lived in a more rural area 40 minutes north of where I grew up. Yeah, I don't understand it. There's like, I don't like brown people. Jill Stein is for canceling student loan debt. At least she was on the last go-round. I bet Jill Stein is only running Green Party because Cornel West went independent. Let's see what kind of shit show this is going to be. Like, I'm really curious to see who ends up getting the most votes after Biden has lost all of these, like, Arab Americans. It's going to be curious to see how this goes down. Anything aside from Biden is throwing away a vote. If a Republican wins, Palestinians will be a thing of the past. Bro, I don't know how to fucking... I don't know how many times I'm gonna have to say this, or, like, I don't know how to break this to you, but, like, Palestinians are dying currently. What do you mean they have a much better chance with him? Like, it's been a month. Okay, I want you to understand that it's been a month. A month of Israel constantly bombing in Gaza. They're using chemical weapons that are causing, like, severe burns on people's bodies. They're blowing children's bodies apart. Buildings are crumbling on top of entire families. Like, 4,000 children have died in the past month. Is it just in Gaza, or is it, like, in Palestine in general? Biden is spineless on the issue. A Republican will be actively aggressive. What do you mean? We sent $14 billion to them. What do you mean, like, we're going to be more aggressive? What is more aggressive than sending $14 billion? Like, do you honestly think that Trump is going to deploy American troops? Like, I highly doubt it. I think turnout will just be severely depressed in proportion to how deep Biden digs this hole. Rather than it being, like, people come out and vote third party. Biden may suck, but he's the only viable alternative to Trump, and Trump wants to end democracy. We have to bite the bullet and vote Biden. Again, I don't know how to tell you that the fascism you're so afraid of happening under Trump is being built under Biden. It's happening still. It's like we've been creeping even further to the right and right and right and right and right under all these Democratic presidents. I almost want to give up politics for a few years. It's looking like a real shit year for 2024. Here's my thinking right now. Okay, here's my thinking right now. And I'm gonna have to, like, talk to the people in my actual personal human life and, like, talk to them about this concept, because right now in the immediate whatever, like, for me, my priority is figuring out how to survive the political situation in my country. And then the next step is, once I feel like I'm in a relatively safe place, we're going to have to shift focus to like surviving climate change in the longer term. Genuinely, unironically, both sides are evil rhetoric is why the left is politically ineffectual, and 2024 is looking like a repeat of 2016. The more lefties buy into this dumb shit. Baphomet, I love you. That's the most delusional shit you've ever said to me. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna apply to some Canadian colleges because if Trump gets elected, I will have to leave. Yeah, but it's like, you'll have to leave immediately. But, like, you are going to have to get... Like, you are still going to, like, be in a dangerous situation regardless. It's just, like, it just changes the timeline on how bad things are going to get here. And, like, listen, okay, here's another thing that I just have to say. Is, like, it's pretty, like, fucked up and really self-centered in a way for us to be like, oh, yeah, we're gonna, like, continue voting for Biden because we're scared of the bad things happening here, even though, like, the bad things are going to keep happening elsewhere under Biden. Like, kids are still in cages on our border. Like, we are losing the rights. I'm fine with being Delulu, but I'm not wrong. No, yeah, I am saying that you're wrong. Like, it's not like this is just rhetoric that both sides are evil shit. It's like, what the fuck do you want me to say? I saw the inside of a child's skull yesterday from a video on Twitter. Do you know what I'm trying to say here? Like, in Gaza. Like, it's poison. It's all poison. Let me ask you a question. Who do you think pulls the country further right at the moment? Both parties. Both parties. Like, how many Democrats are against, like, the Israeli aggression? Like, not very many. America influences all countries. There's similar anti-trans stuff in England. I actually think that a decent... I mean, we were kind of... They were happening concurrently. Because the flavor of transphobia in the UK, in a certain way, has been more toxic, or at least more effectually toxic. Bro, Brutus, the Supreme Court got worse under a Democrat. Like, what are you trying to say? Like, oh, say hi to an even worse Supreme Court. Like, what you need to do is demonstrate an actual difference between the two. Because there is materially not, like, a significant difference. The only difference is, like, the timeline upon which our country goes into the shithole. Like, that's the only difference as far as I can see. Like, if you just look back at the last 30 years, like, the way that rhetoric has changed, like, the way that, like, rights have changed over the past, like, it's not good. Things are not getting better. Like, I don't know how to tell you that both parties are going to burn us all alive because the earth is going to run out of water. Like, like we're... Roe versus Wade died under a Democratic president. Like, I don't... And, like, the Democrats are the ones who, like, didn't codify it in legislation even though they had the chance over and over again. Like... I just need you all to accept that we're fucked and, like, stop acting like voting for Biden is gonna help anything, because it's objectively not. I'm like, you can. It's just like, let's not pretend like that's gonna make any difference. It died under a Democratic president, but the conditions under which it died were built under a Republican one. Baphomet, stop yelling at me because you're being fucking retarded right now, okay? Because... under which president did we dramatically shift the demographics on the Supreme Court? Huh? Was it under fucking Barack Obama's presidency because of Mitch McConnell? Was it under a Democratic president? Was it? Yeah. Don't talk to me about how Democrats make things better. Jiminy Christmas. Someone being president is not the only factor in what happens. That's true, yes. It's also true that, like, that was an unprecedented level of obstructionism, and, like, I don't know that there was enough done. And, like, okay, do you guys remember when there was going to be a federal level discussion about raising the federal minimum wage, and then an appointed employee was, like, not present or something, or wasn't signing off on it? Like, an appointed member of the clerks or something was, like, not cool with it, or some bullshit like that. And then like the administration and the fucking legislature were all like, shrug, too bad, we don't get to have a national discussion about the federal minimum wage. Like, I don't know, guys. I don't know what to tell you. Like, I don't vote third party when a Republican is involved. Don't want them to win. I enjoy your content, but equating both sides is ridiculous. It's also not useful. One of them will win. It might as well be less evil. Bro, like, open your eyes, okay? It's not like I'm just saying, both sides are like, exactly the same. Like, I am not that stupid, okay? And, like, I've been doing this show for a while and having the same discussion for a while. So let me make myself clear yet a fucking again. Yes, on a superficial level, Democrats are in support of people being able to shove their dicks in each other's ass in the privacy of their own home, okay? By and large, Democrats think that if you're an adult, you should have access to gender-affirming care, okay? How many Democrats out there are still going to be against trans kids having access to care, or are still going to be in support of, like, an extreme amount of gatekeeping, or still don't think that trans women should be in sports, or still think that, like, maybe on some level religiously, actually, it should be more like you don't get married, but you get, like, a civil partnership, you know? Like, how many Democrats believe in providing housing for homeless people? How many Democrats believe in, like, making a huge difference? There were no material differences. It's not a far stretch. Like, what are the material differences? Like, on a fundamental level, when a Democrat is in charge, does the minimum wage go up? Even when Democrats are in charge of, like, one of the Congress bodies and the presidency, and shit still does not get done. Them being complacent and even reactionary is a fault with them, but voting them in has never been about radical action. Yeah. It's about not getting more people needlessly killed by evil, sadistic Republicans. I don't know. Like, I just have watched so much death happen under Democrats that, like, I don't understand why. Like, I don't understand. Like, you're saying, like, okay, yes, I understand the harm reduction, okay? The harm reduction aspect of, like, yes, you do want, if you can make 100 people die instead of 200 people, you want 100 people to die, right? But, like, at a certain point, when do you, if you have, like, the person who killed 100 people instead of 200 people, at what point do you, like, destroy that person and prevent them from being able to kill more people? Like, we are still empowering these people to do a bunch of social murder on us all the time. Like, Democrats do a social murder on us just as much as Republicans do. I mean, like, just like in the same manner as Republicans do, if perhaps like a few less people, like a couple fewer people. Last minimum wage increase, I believe, happened under Bush Jr. Yeah, like, Despite all my rage, I'm still just a rat in a cage and all. Yeah. I'm just, I just, like, am so tired of people hammering in the idea that you need to vote. I'm like, I don't care anymore. It's kind of like, how, like, when your mom is a huge piece of shit and she tells you all the time that, like, she gave birth to you and, like, therefore you owe her something. And then eventually your eyes just glaze over and you resent the fact that you were born and you never want to talk to your mom again. Like, that's how I feel about, like, the Democratic Party. I'm like, and people telling me that it's a bad thing for the left that I'm saying that the Democratic Party is fucking shit, and I don't think that I don't want to, like, I don't know that I'm going to vote for them. Like, I mean, I'm sure, yeah, I'll vote locally for Democrats, probably. And, yeah, locally, sometimes there are people who are even more like democratic socialists, and that's cool. Like, I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I don't give a shit about voting. Like, I just don't personally give a shit about it anymore. This entire conversation is a great example of the difference between a sock dem / liberal and an anarchist. It's like, as an anarchist, you can still say, like, yeah, you should vote for harm reduction or whatever. And it's like, yeah, but, like, I mean, I'm just running out of energy. Like, it's just like, do you know how fucking embarrassing it is to be like, yeah, we should vote for Joe Biden because of these bad things that Trump is doing, and then just to watch Trump continue doing almost every single fucking thing that Trump has done? Like, I feel like I don't give a shit about voting is a more respectable and honest position than whinging about Genocide Joe. But it's not like I don't give a shit about voting in general, okay? And I feel like, okay, I'm just gonna stop responding to you, Baphomet, because I feel like you're picking apart the things that I'm saying and, like, not really getting my point. Like, because I've repeatedly said in this conversation, like, because we've been having it over the past, like, month, that, like, I think that voting down ballot is important. I do care about voting, but I think that voting for president, especially because, again, I live in fucking Kansas, where literally my vote doesn't matter. Like, how many times am I gonna vote blue and then watch my entire state go red because we are also gerrymandered? And it's like, yeah, like, I think that you've been tricked into believing that you are doing literally anything. Like, I just don't see how it makes a difference at this point. The president barely matters anyways. So Mersh, I'll listen to you because you've been around for a long time, okay? I'm older and I've become more practical rather than idealistic with age. 99% of politicians in general are rich sociopaths. You have to pick the best sociopath to represent your position. Oh, God, I guess so. This whole thing is very Machiavellian. You've got to work with the cards you're dealt with in the system. But you don't. It's like my whole fucking argument is that I don't think that, I think that your time would be better spent, like, sabotaging voting machines than it would be voting. Like, I'm not saying that you should sabotage anything, but I'm saying that I think your time would be better spent. Oh my God. Dems suck a lot of the time, but at least they aren't basically Nazis. But yeah, Biden really is terrible, and he's making it hard to vote for him. You know, Patrick, there's this, like, saying that goes around, it's like, if there's, like, 9 people at a table and one person, the last 10th person sits down and that person is a Nazi and the other 9 people don't get up and leave the table, like, those other 9 people are at the very minimum Nazi sympathizers, right? Like, Dems are just constantly saying, we need to work bipartisan with these Republicans, even though Republicans are fucking radical, insane people. Like, I don't think that there are enough Democrats going, hey, why don't we ignore what all these crazy sons of bitches are saying, and do things that are going to actually help people? Don't vote for a president. Think of it as voting for the executive branch, because the president gets to appoint a lot of people that have bureaucratic power in the executive branch. I mean, yeah, okay, that's like the most convincing argument, I think, honestly, is like, but it's like, it's fucking Pete Buttigieg. It's like, you get Biden in and he puts Pete Buttigieg on his cabinet. And then he also appoints like a trans woman to a cabinet position, and it's like, okay, well, that's cool, I guess. Like, there's like a minimum amount of representation here. But it's like, I feel, once again, I just kind of feel like a toddler who's having some keys jingled in front of me when I am affected by the Democrats doing things like putting trans and gay people in positions of power. Like, I feel like I'm being played like a flute. Oh, man. I'm not invested in harm reduction because it's emotionally cathartic. Wait, are you invested in harm reduction for a different reason? Just because of the harm reduction? On the one hand, Pete Buttigieg. On the other hand, Julie Su. Left needs to do a better job digging up the dirt on conservatives. A part of the problem is that, like, that conservative, oh my god, what is it called? Conservative scandals, like, don't make people vote for them less, necessarily. You know? I mean, Trump is, like, the most scandal-ridden president in American history, and the Republicans, by and large, are they not still... Like, a lot of these polls are showing that he's still coming out ahead, even though he's not going to any of these debates or anything. It's like, that's part of the point of fascist power, is that they can do things and they can flaunt their... Like, they can just flaunt their position. I'm gonna have to get some more water. Ranting is thirsty work. Yum. Are we planning on watching the debate on stream? I figured we're not gonna watch the whole thing, because a lot of it's about foreign policy and shit. Like, it's interesting that the Republican primary debate is not covering the kinds of issues that voters are most interested in right now. But yeah, so they did talk about abortion towards the end, and I figured we could watch that and kind of talk about that some. Hungry. I am cooking a pot roast, and it's gonna be so delicious, I'm sure. I don't know, I make my food different every time. Every time I cook, like, I don't ever make meals the same way twice, because I eyeball everything every time. And I'm like, ooh, this time I want to use vegetable broth and beef broth instead of just beef broth. I have a lobbyist friend who tells me that a lot of GOP congressmen are LGBTQIA+. They hide it and work against their own people to protect their own financial interests. Republican debates are like watching pro wrestling. Like, everybody is just like, we have our lines, we're gonna say them, I'm gonna tap out, you're gonna win, everything's gonna be good, we're gonna make some money. Oh gosh. Hit ye old like button if you have not done that yet. That's always tasty and helpful for the show. Yum. This down. I think the most respectable take I've heard on not voting is the George Carlin bit he's had on voting. He truly was a gem. I feel like I need to go back and watch all of George Carlin's stuff, because I just feel like I would understand it way better now than I did. And I don't know what his take is on... Oh, he's like, you don't get an opinion on any of this stuff that's going on if you don't vote, I think is what he said. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna watch it. There's a big club and you ain't in it. I mean, I kind of resent that. Like, in fact, like, I almost think that there should be an option on your voter card where it's like, I'm voting for my senators, I'm voting for my House of Representatives. On the president one, I'm gonna specifically abstain. Like, you know, if we're not gonna have an option for fucking ranked voting, which would be the optimal thing to do, like, I wish at very minimum I could have the option to say, like, like, voting third party is the only way to make a statement of, like, fuck both of you, I don't want either of you, you know? You can just not vote for them, but... mandatory voting. I feel like, yeah, if you just send a ballot card to everyone and you're like, okay, the expectation is that you vote and maybe you get like a $20 fine if you don't vote. But like, yeah, the abstain option, like, I want it to be recorded how pissed off I am about this situation because I live in a state where it doesn't matter if I vote for Biden. It's like, it does nothing but it does nothing but harm me mentally. It does nothing but give me psychic damage for me to vote for Biden because I live in a state where he is not going to win even remotely. Can you write in a president name? I think Colbert had people do that. Yeah, just Colbert for president. Stephen Colbert. Yeah, writing in Taylor Swift. Harambe. I'm gonna vote for Harambe. He's gonna get this country back on the right track. Dolly Parton. Girl, she would have it. She would have it done. I'm writing in that one British guy who bought Brian's Swords of York art. I don't know who the hell you're talking about. Oh my god. Dolly would be the best president. I have the opposite problem where my vote really does count and I hate all my options. Yeah. Like, listen, if I lived in Virginia, I would vote for Biden. I would be like, I fucking hate this hostage situation, but I'm voting for Biden. I live in Kansas. I have the privilege of being like, yeah, I'm not gonna do that. You were thinking of John Oliver. Yeah, vote for Biden, Trump, or fuck you. I vote in fuck you as president. John Oliver is easily one of my favorite comedians. Oh yeah, he bought the furry art. He bought this furry art. Good stuff. I had to look up Brian Swords of York because I'm more interested in furry art than late night television. Oh, that's, yeah. I haven't seen any John Oliver in a while. Are they on hiatus, though, or something? You can't vote for John, though. He's a limey. I can vote for John. He just can't, like, be elected. I can ruin my vote for John Oliver. You think I won't? Colbert is from Ohio. I thought Colbert was from South Carolina. Oh, the late night show that John Oliver has is back now. Okay, good. Ooh. I don't know if anybody gives a shit about this, but the first episode of season 2 of Invincible is out. I guess Amazon does the thing where they do episodes week by week. Do they do that? They go week by week? Vote for Jank. Oh god. No spoilers, of course. I haven't watched it yet, and I actually don't know. I need to discuss with my partner, like, are we gonna watch it week by week, or are we gonna wait and just binge however much of it? Because in the first season, there's only 8 episodes. They're 50 minutes long or so. It's my workout show. Ooh, it's a good show. I hope you enjoy. It's very easy for me to just put Invincible on in the morning and on a Saturday and, like, watch the entire show. All that's available right now, at least. Majority Report is my workout show. I think I'm a weird person, because when I'm at the gym, I straight up just, I'm just working out. I don't listen to anything. Sometimes at my gym they play music, but I mean, for the most part, I'm just like having a physical experience and thinking about like what I'm in the middle of doing. I'm not really thinking about a lot of anything, which I guess is part of why it's so enjoyable to me. That's psychopath behavior. I mean, I guess it's a mindfulness thing for me. If I watch news, I want dumb stuff like playing games, but for stuff I want to focus in on workout is great for that because it forces me to just focus on working out and watching. True. I only listen to music at the gym if they are playing their own music. Yeah. I mean, it's just a pain in the ass for me to, like, have to keep track of my earbud and make sure it's charged and choose what I'm listening to. Like, listen, I'm just here to work out. And then I'll start thinking. It's like I go to the gym in the morning and then I don't think a lot while I'm there, so it's kind of just like a centering experience, and then I can start worrying about my day after I'm done working out.
Family. Fyodor Kaczynski, the Unabomber, one of my personal heroes, by the way.
Yeah. I work out without music, however, someone almost always has heavy metal playing very loudly. Or the lewdest rap anyone has ever heard. I always listen to music on my workouts. I have a few playlists. Some of them are like 19 years old now from being a cross-country runner. I still wear my earbuds even if they run out of battery because I don't want anyone to think they can talk to me. People don't really try to talk to me when I'm in public. I don't really have come up and talk to me vibes, I don't think. Sometimes that happens, actually. Finally invested in and got some good headphones. Nice. That's good to hear. Well, okay, so since we're only going to respond to like the last 20 minutes of this, you know, we're entering a time of the show where I would be okay with doing our main segment for the night. Ooh, after we kind of goofed off for an hour. So, Wrastlin'. I work out to epic orchestral music or anime soundtracks that don't have lyrics. That's a good call. So, okay. As I understand it, in this midterm election that we just had, Republicans really did not do so well. And it's not just that Republicans didn't do so well, but that conservative ideas did not win out. Because repeatedly, we've had these instances where states are trying to pass some kind of like constitutional amendment or something along those lines to try to restrict access to abortion. I live in Kansas. Kansas tried to do that, and the voters came out and said, hell no, we're protecting abortion rights. Similar thing happened in Ohio. And they keep doing this thing where they have these abortion referendums on off years in the August voting time instead of the November voting time, which is a bunch of BS. And then people just come out in droves. So one of the things to look at when we're looking at these, how did the Republicans versus Democrats do during the midterm elections, and when we're looking at the presidential debate, like the Republican primary debates, is trying to see, like, okay, what are the issues that voters actually care about right now? It seems pretty clear that the voters, even Republican women, are in favor of abortion rights. The voters want people to have access to that choice. You know, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out that the kind of people who are going to be the most devastated and the most hurt by abortion restrictions, especially all-out abortion restrictions, is going to be like little girls. Frankly, they're going to suffer the most in these situations where they don't have access to abortion. So, yeah, even Republican grandmas are out here saying, I voted to protect abortion rights in Ohio in order to make sure that, you know, these grandbabies are not going to have to go through anything horrible. Um, if only I lived in a country with free healthcare. God, isn't that the truth? Let me run and grab my water, actually, because my throat is definitely dry, and I don't want to do a seggy with a completely dry throat. You should also get some water, and like the stream if you haven't already, okay? Love you. Water. Oh, good babies. Okay. I still find it crazy that in the USA, crazy one, an IV. Oh, an IV in the USA is apparently $5,000 without insurance. I think that they generally do sliding. A lot of places will do like a sliding scale or like a forgiveness, such and such, if you plea to the hospital's charity department, excuse me, that you can't pay. Okay. Well, excuse me. So yeah, on the same week that we had all these midterms going not really in favor of Republicans, we also had this presidential debate, Republican primary debate, really. And I was interested in finding out, like, what did they talk about? And I was thinking, oh, we'll do a whole reaction to the whole thing. But for the most part, they talked about foreign policy, looking at some of the highlights that people have posted, some of the articles people have posted, talking about, like, breaking down what was discussed during this. They covered a lot of foreign policy stuff, interestingly, and not as much the kind of issues that voters actually care about when it comes to who is going to be in the presidential office. You know, like, people do care a lot about abortion and protecting it. It's like we've repeatedly demonstrated, even in purple states, even in Republican states, again, that we want to protect abortion rights, you know? So it's interesting that abortion and, like, you know, gay rights and trans kids and stuff, like, these things that do seem to be making a big impact on whether these Republicans are winning or not, they did not spend the almost 2 hours that they had of this debate talking about those issues. So instead of responding to the entire debate, because I don't want to do an entire foreign policy 3-hour-long response video, we're just going to respond to the last roughly 20 minutes of the debate where the primary, what do you call them? They're not nominees, right? Not primary nominees. But like the presidential hopefuls will be discussing the abortion issue. Later, Baphomet, I hope that you feel better tonight. They're kind of not candidates. Yeah, I'm sorry too, Baphomet. Hugs. Yes, we're good. Everything's cool. We're fine. Yeah, feel better. So they're candidates for the Republican nomination. I guess that's technically one way we could put it. They're presidential hopefuls. Something along those lines. Anyhow, so let's strap in for this, specifically the abortion part of the video. Let's go.
Let's talk now about last night's election results. Abortion rights supporters saw victories in Ohio and Virginia following earlier wins in states like Kansas and Kentucky. Governor DeSantis, first to you, how do you see the path forward for Republicans on this issue?
Well, I stand for a culture of life, and I understand that it's important that everyone gets a shot. I'm reminded of a story about a young mother who was struggling.
It's like, he's like, I'm going to say I am 100% pro-life in every situation, and like, but I'm gonna avoid directly saying that by veering off into a story about a person I made up.
In Jamaica about 40 years ago, 45 years ago. She was counseled to not have a baby because she was poor, baby wouldn't have opportunity, and she came close to have an abortion, but she decided to have the baby, born poor in Jamaica. And the reason I know that story is because that baby girl ended up emigrating to the state of Florida, becoming a lawyer and a judge, and I appointed her to the Florida Supreme Court in August of 2022.
Okay, so referring to some lady that he put on the Supreme Court. Okay, he didn't invent her, although I wouldn't put it past him.
We're better off when everybody counts. We're better off when we can promote a culture of life. At the same time, I understand that some of these states are doing it a little bit different. Texas is not going to do it the same as New Hampshire. Iowa's not necessarily going to do it the same as Virginia. So you got to work from the bottom up. You got to do a better job on these referenda. I think of all the stuff that's happened to the pro-life cause, they have been caught flat-footed on these referenda, and they have been losing the referenda. A lot of the people who are voting for the referenda are Republicans who would vote for a Republican candidate. So you got to understand how to do that. But let's just be clear: the Democrats
did he just come out against democracy? I'm sorry, I made him talk. I made him talk faster, and that was maybe a mistake, because he's just like shit talking. He said referenda, which is the plural of referendum, and by that means when we vote on these things. He's like, yeah, we're losing on these referenda. Even Republicans, like, are you saying that we should make the process less democratic, sir?
Going to do it the same as Virginia. So you got to work from the bottom up. You got to do a better job on these referenda. I think of all the
you got to do a better job on these. Maybe he's just saying you need to do better grassroots organizing. You got to reach out better, or does he mean you need to limit people's right to vote, or like you need to have it be in an even more secret time of the year than the August one? I actually think I was reading something earlier, and I don't know if this is, I didn't really dig further into it, but I was watching some reporting that was saying that in Ohio, they had actually previously made August elections like against the rules, basically, because of like their reasoning was that there's always low turnout and that cost a lot of money to hold the elections in August. And then they went on to hold an election in August specifically to try to catch out people and pass this constitutional amendment to like limit abortion rights, or yeah, something along those lines. I'm not. I don't know the exact wording and details of what they were trying to do in Ohio this time, but I do know that the voters won. They're holding the next vote on Schmogust. Schmogust. That's the dragon one, right? Anyway.
Stuff that's happened to the pro-life cause. They have been caught flat-footed on these referenda, and they have been losing the referenda. A lot of the people who are voting for the referenda are Republicans who would vote for a Republican candidate. So you got to understand how to do that. But let's just be clear. The Democrats have taken a position. They will not identify the point at which there should be any protection all the way up until birth. That is wrong, and we cannot stand for that.
All right, Governor DeSantis, thank you. Ambassador
Okay, I
Haley,
guess he's just saying that there needs to be protection up till birth, which, like, again, a lot of Republicans don't agree with in, like, a blanket statement. Like, people will say, I'm pro-life for religious reasons, and I think that generally abortion should be avoided, and like it should be the last thing that happens, right? But again, like if you're gonna make the argument that a fetus is a whole child, then what you're talking about is a child giving birth to another child. So you're requiring harm of a child in the case of these like 10 or 12-year-old kids who get like assaulted by their uncles and stuff. Like you just can't do the blanket ban. I wonder if they're going to talk about any exceptions if like while we're on the topic.
Let me have you weigh in. Former President Trump has consistently blamed the abortion issue and how Republican candidates have talked about it for their electoral losses. How do you see the path forward?
He's right.
I've said it before.
Worst person you know is correct. This is that Onion article. The worst person you know has made a good point. Oh my God.
You have to be honest with the American people. This is a personal issue for every woman and every man. I am unapologetically pro-life, not because the Republican Party tells me to be, but because my husband Michael was adopted and I had trouble having both of my children. So I'm surrounded by blessings. Having said that, when you look post-Roe, a wrong was made right. They took it out of the hands of unelected justices and they put it in the hands of the people. And now we're seeing states vote. And what I'll tell you is, as much as I'm pro-life, I don't judge anyone for being pro-choice, and I don't want them to judge me for being pro-life. So when we're looking at this, there are some states that are going more on the pro-life.
She has the most libertarian kind of thing on this. I guess that's like sort of where Biden ended up coming around to. He's like, I'm a Catholic, I don't believe in it, but I believe that this is a decision between you and your doctor. It's like, I guess that is the sort of libertarian position on this. Abortion happens more under pro-life policy anyways. I mean, that's true, right? Like, because abortion is not the only effect of pro-life policy. Pro-life policy also tends to be anti-birth control, which means that you have more unexpected pregnancies, and it's at least, like, relatively the same rate. Like, people will be seeking abortion at least at the same rate, if not more, under these policies. Yeah, loving that it's dark when I get home now. Welcome to hell.
Life side, I welcome that. There's some states that are going more on the pro-choice side. I wish that wasn't the case, but the people decided. But when it comes to the federal law, which is what's being debated here, be honest, it's going to take 60 Senate votes, a majority of the House, and a president to sign it. So no, we haven't had 60 Senate votes in over 100 years. We might have 45 pro-life senators. So no Republican president can ban abortions any more than a Democrat president can ban these state laws. So let's find consensus. Let's agree on how we can ban late-term abortion.
She's like one of the more reasonable people, except that I know she's got some weird beliefs, but every time I see her on here, there are things where I'm like, I don't hate her, you know? Yeah, and they also attack the infrastructure of women's healthcare and women's ability to make informed choices. Exactly, yeah. They they limit abortion and they limit sex education, and yeah, we ended up with more unwanted pregnancies, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Let's make sure we encourage adoptions and good quality adoptions. Let's make sure we make contraception.
Good quality adoptions. Kind of made my ears tingle a little bit, because I don't think that I would be a good quality adoption as a trans communist. You know what I mean?
Accessible. Let's make sure that none of these state laws put a woman in jail or give her the death penalty for getting an abortion. Let's focus on how to save as many babies as we can and support as many moms as we can, and stop the judgment. We don't need to divide America over this issue anymore.
Thank you, Ambassador. Senator Scott.
She made a sensible point.
Senator Scott,
yeah, exactly. Making sure more babies are adopted by white cishet Christian couples. Yeah, let's keep over monitoring Native American women and taking their children away.
To weigh in, how do you see the path forward, and what do you make of what Ambassador Haley
Okay, wait, so weren't there like 9 people before? I love the process of watching it slim down. There were like 9 people, or 8 maybe, and now we're down to 5. So it's Chris Christie, the lady who I don't entirely hate, Ron DeSantis, Rami is his name, and I don't remember that dude's name. Does he work in the House right now, or the Senate? And he's running for... Adoptions can and do go terribly, but probably none of the reasons she thinks. I hate her, she's a terrible person. Oh, no. Like I'm saying, I think she's a terrible person, but she does tend to be like one of the more sensible Republican people on this stage, just with these people.
Said, do you see this as a consensus issue?
Well, I'm 100% pro-life.
Oh, yeah, I hate this guy. I'm pretty sure that this guy is the one who was in the Senate Judiciary Committee who was saying, like, oh, letting trans kids transition is like letting a kid eat ice cream for every meal.
I have a 100% pro-life voting record. I would certainly, as President of the United States, have a 15-week national limit. I would not allow states like California, Illinois, or New York to have abortion up until the day of birth. I certainly wouldn't not allow for governors, former governor, Democratic governor of Virginia, who talked about infanticide. We need a 15-week federal limit. 3 out of 4 Americans agree with a 15-week limit. 47 out of 50 countries in Europe agree with a 15-week limit. I would challenge both Nikki and Ron to join me at a 15-week limit. It is in our nation's best interest, and frankly, I think it's unethical and immoral to allow for abortions up until the day of birth. We haven't.
As always, it bears repeating that you don't get elective abortions in the 3rd trimester. You get like a baby who doesn't have a brain scooped out of you. You know what I mean? Like you get like a baby whose brain formed outside of its skull removed. Like this is people who've set up, nurseries. They're ready for their baby. And like by presenting, like you're saying, if you say there should never be abortion past that point, what you're saying is that those people should be like required to give birth to dead babies, or required to be septic before you will treat them, or you turn their miscarriage into a criminal investigation. Like so many things that are wrong with that. Yeah, this Republican lady is the garbage you huddle with because it doesn't have quite as many flies. True.
Opportunity in this nation to stop that reckless behavior from states like California, New York, and Illinois. I'd go a step further. In my parents' plan, we start by talking about funding, block granting resources to crisis pregnancy centers. We should support adoption. There are a number of ways that we can say to the expected
crisis pregnancy centers present themselves like they might be a place where you could get an abortion, and they string you along until past the point at which you can't get a legal abortion anymore. Right, yeah, Texas currently has a law that puts a bounty on you for having a miscarriage. Like, they will investigate you. Yeah, really, what you should give those people who get third trimester abortions need counseling because it must be awful to lose a wanted baby at that stage in the pregnancy.
That we stand with you. We should not only be pro-life before the child is born, we should be pro-life after the child is born just as much.
Senator Scott, thank you.
Wait, is that a call for more welfare? Is that a call for more funding for school lunches? Like, what do you mean? Oh my gosh. There are already tons of kids in the system who need to be adopted. None of these people talking this crap seem to be stepping up. They never do. They never do. Every time you're like, oh, you know, we should do adoption more than we do abortion. Like, those people are never willing to step up and offer those resources. And often those are people that don't even have their own kids anyway. So it's like, okay, well, you're clearly, like, avoiding having a kid for financial reasons or something else like that.
Your name was invoked. Would you support a 15-week federal limit?
I would support anything that would pass because that's what would save more babies and support more moms. But do you have to be honest with the American people? And I appreciate that Tim keeps calling me out for this. But Tim, there was a bill last year. Lindsey Graham sponsored it. You didn't even co-sponsor the bill. And then when you first were interviewed on this, when you ran, you wouldn't even say you were for 15 weeks. What I'm saying to the American people is, let's see what we can agree on. Let's bring people together and decide what we can.
That was either a major call out from her or a huge lie from her, and he may have lied in response. Like, that's just not true. Like, she's calling him out for changing his position on this, I guess. For the sake of convenience, obviously. It's not a bad thing to change your mind and update your opinion. It is a bad thing to do so for political convenience.
Agree on. I will sign anything where we can get 60 Senate votes, but don't make the American people think that you're going to push something on them when we don't even have the votes in the Senate. It's important that we're honest about that.
Let me go to Mr. Ramaswamy. Would you support a 15-week federal ban, and what is the path forward on this issue?
I just wanted to say, I mean, I think Nikki Haley did invoke being honest, and I just want to give credit to Tim Scott. He's honest about where he stood, and I think you should be honest, not making a political calculus, but to say, if a bill is served up, would you sign it? Here's my view on this. Speaking as a man, they say men have trouble speaking on this issue. I don't think we need to be that way. It was my home state of Ohio.
He's like, I, a man, I'm ready to tell you what you need to know about abortion. Oh, no.
I'm upset about this yesterday, that passed a constitutional amendment that now effectively codifies a right to abortion all the way up to the time of birth without parental consent. Why? It's back to that Republican culture of losing. The Republicans did not have an alternative amendment or vision on the table. I know Ohio. I was born, raised, and I live there. It's representative of the country. If in the state of Ohio, we talked about access to contraception, adoption, and also here's the missing ingredient in this movement, sexual responsibility for men. We live in an era of reliable genetic paternity tests that are 100% reliable. So we can say men deserve more responsibility. So we can tell women we're all in this together. It's not men's rights versus women's rights. It's about human rights. And I come back to that case.
This is really interesting. So Rami is in support of, like, keeping dads on the hook for their, you know, irresponsible ejaculation. Cue the diverse panel of men in bow ties. Yeah, that's a really interesting position. Rami is taking up the position of, like, we need to hold men responsible. In the conversation around reducing abortions and having access to contraception, we also need to tell men to watch where they nut. That's what this guy's official position is.
That Clarence Thomas spoke of. A pregnant woman walking down the street. She's assaulted. The unborn child dies in that assault. You find me one person in this country who says that that criminal does not deserve liability for that death. You won't find one. that says we share the same instincts on this issue, but we require, I believe, a different generation of
Ramaswamy,
leadership
thank you.
to actually lead us forward and unite the country on this
Thank
with
you.
honesty.
Thank you, Mr. Ramaswamy.
Walk back in and hear ejaculation. You're welcome.
Governor Christie, as you know, federal limits are important to a lot of Republicans. Where do you stand on this issue, and what is the path forward for Republicans?
For 50 years, conservative lawyers have been arguing that the federal government should have absolutely nothing to do with this issue constitutionally because it's nowhere in the Constitution. And then Dobbs comes and we finally gain that victory, which was the creation of a constitutional right out of thin air that didn't exist. And now we have people running to say, let's short circuit the states from doing what they need to do, and let's go right to some type of federal ban at a certain number of weeks. And people on the stage have been all over the place, 20 weeks, 15 weeks, 12, 6. Look, the Frowners were really smart. And this is an issue that should be decided in each state. And I trust the people of this country, state by state, to make the call for themselves. Now, it's going to lead to a lot of divergence. In Oklahoma, you can't get an abortion unless the life of the mother is at risk. In my home state of New Jersey, it goes up to 9 months that you get an abortion. I find that morally reprehensible, but that is what the people of our state have voted for. And we should not short-circuit that process until every state's people have the right to weigh in on it. But here's the bigger issue, Kirsten. The bigger issue is, and Tim began to touch on this, we're not pro-life for the whole life. To be pro-life for the whole life means that the life of a 16-year-old drug addict on the floor of the county lockup is precious, and we should get treatment for her to restore her life. The 52-year-old who's drug addicted.
Like, yeah, okay, so you brought up a 16-year-old drug addict, but you didn't bring up the 16-year-old who falls pregnant. And like, are you against the 16-year-old having an opportunity to go to college because she's too busy being a mom? Like, I don't know, dude. They're so gung-ho on adoption, yet states regularly lose track of kids in their custody. We can't trust them with the kids already in their care. I don't trust them to set up good adoptions. Yeah, that was something I didn't bring up earlier, Eric, but I did think of it, that you have this problem where these kids are not like in orphanages. Overwhelmingly, kids who are in the system who don't have parents or whatever, like adoptive children, they're not like in a group home for children. They're in foster families. They're in foster care. And so many foster families are primarily in it for the money. They don't spend very much money on the kids, or they're sexually abusing them, or they're religiously indoctrinating them, or whatever. Like, foster care is not a system that is very well maintained, let's say. Let's be nice. And say that it's not very well maintained. So you can't even say, yeah, this is a good system, because we refuse to fund that either.
It should make sure that any of his children who he's passed that addiction on to are treated well, too. Pro-life's not just in the womb, Kirsten. It's for the whole life.
All right, Governor, thank you. Candidates, thank you. We're going to take a final
I guess they finally picked up on that talking point.
break. And when we come back, we'll hear from all of you with your closing statements. This is the NBC News Republican
Okay, is this just
presidential
closing
debate. We'll be back
statements?
right after.
Is this going to be anything interesting?
The world stays number one.
We have to move forward, and we can do this.
Okay, sure. Yeah, let's just leave it at that. They talked about the abortion issue. We've said what we need to say. My parents did foster care, and the kids were always relieved to get them because there are some horror stories. Yeah, exactly. Like, we don't make sure to keep track of these things. Lots of foster homes also don't report runaways, or they rehome, i.e. traffic kids that they just don't like often. They don't do enough adequate checks on these kids. Yeah, the system is strained. It's weird. There's like not enough supervision on some aspects where Child Protective Services gets involved, but there are other situations where like there's like over involvement for some families and under involvement in a lot of other issues, weirdly enough. You know, like my family has had experiences with CPS where it's like, I don't think that taking away the children was justified because, you know, it generally is considered the absolute last thing you should do. Like separating kids from their families, you usually want to rehome them with a family member or something along those lines. And like though all of those protocols were not followed in this situation. So like, yeah, sometimes CPS is really overzealous and over polices certain families. And often those families are going to be like people of color, immigrants, you know, Native Americans, just those kind of folks who get more scrutiny. And whereas, yeah, they're like, once you get the kid in foster care, it's like, I don't give a shit about it. Like, we send them their $300 a month for each kid or whatever it is. And then let's like not check up on them at all. Like, we covered, I think last year, a big sex trafficking ring. This foster family had, or maybe it was even a network of foster families, had sex trafficked a bunch of the kids that they were supposed to be taking care of. And it's like, how did this happen? It's like, you just have to assume that there was someone involved. You have to assume that someone up higher up the chain was like, I know that these families are trafficking these children and that they're slipping me money under the table for it. Like, that there just has to have been something more going on. Anyway, the American people are overwhelmingly saying we want to protect abortion rights, and, like, I don't know what Trump's position on it is. I don't know if it's going to matter, because who knows if he's going to get the nomination, but, you know, we have several GOP candidates, I guess, who are interested in maintaining the will of the people and are unwilling to even discuss imposing a federal ban, even if it's just partially because they understand they couldn't get away with doing a federal ban. Anyhoozle. So that was kind of the main thing that I had planned for tonight. I do have, I've got some other stuff that we could chit-chat about. The barriers for most people who could foster, the barriers that are in place for most people who could foster are insane too, leaving more room for corruption than well-intended people. Yeah, I'm like, how would you even, like, I don't even know if it would be possible for me to get approved to be a foster parent if I wanted to do something like that. It seems like, you know, the barrier, you can have your own kids, and there's absolutely no requirements for that, and I don't think that there should be either. Like, but I'm just saying, like, you are able to become a parent at the age of 16, but, you know, meanwhile, it does take a shit ton of proving that you're okay to do it, that you end up, like, I don't know, like, not having as many opportunities to voluntarily offer your time to people like that. Like, and I understand that you should be stringent, but it's, like, weird that they are so weirdly stringent, and yet so much abuse still happens in that system. It's like, how can it be so difficult to become a foster parent, and yet so many bad actors end up in that system? I wonder if the lasting backlash against them overturning Roe v. Wade will make them think twice about overturning other rights. Probably not, but maybe. Well, all of these people seem to think that overturning Roe v. Wade was the right thing to do. Like, that a federal restriction, a federal protection on abortion was, like, an overreach of the judicial system. The point of the gatekeeping is to punish minorities, LGBT people, and poor people, and just prevent them from pushing their ideology and stuff on the children, and not preventing harm to the children, actually. It's true. I don't want to talk about J.K. Rowling. I do have something that I could talk about J.K. Rowling, but I don't want to. Ooh, no, I have a cool article that we can talk about. I need to write some notes for my stream notes. I'm working on editing. It's such a process. It's always a process. 7? Is today 7? No, today's 9. What did we talk about on Tuesday? Oh, the stream fucked up on Tuesday. That's why I don't have any stream notes for that day. Delicious. Their next long-term project is to use Article 5 to get a state constitutional convention to rewrite the Constitution. I've heard of that they're gonna try to basically, like, amend the Constitution on some of these issues, like whether it's abortion, whether it's trans people. There have been whispers, and of course, I don't know that they have the numbers to do that, but it's, you know, it's spooky of them to try anyway. I would prefer it if they would stop trying to do weird stuff, like amend the Constitution. Stop it. Republican Party should be banned, TBH. It's like just corruption and destroying democracy. Like, they just don't offer anything of value, I don't think, to the American people. Fire them. Just fire them, okay? Fired. They're trying to do a complete rewrite? Nuh-uh. I don't can you, are you even allowed to rewrite the Constitution, or can you only amend it? I would have assumed that you can only amend it. Okay. I like being a poor gay transsexual. I don't like being poor. I like being a gay transsexual, though. I would like to be a little bit less poor. You know? I'm actually not that poor, I don't think, at this point. Like, but everybody wants to be a little bit less poor. Just my hair is a bad texture, and so I'm gonna cut some of it off so that it is a better texture. Cool. Anyway, so this Julia Serrano article, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. I need to drink more water. Yay. Drink water, babes. Hail hydrate. Come on, Horties, let's go. Bro, what if I got scales tattooed on my head, and then I shaved my head and you could see my scales? That would be very cool. Okay, we have a New York Times article about a constitutional convention. Yeah, this was from a while ago. Also, I can't read this article from the New York Times. No. Okay, I'm gonna kind of scroll through. Oh, this essay is a 15-minute read. Okay, this essay is a 15-minute read. There's so many studies in here. Okay. If you've ever wanted a comprehensive write-up of all of the timelines of studies on gender-affirming care for trans youth, well, Julia Serrano has us covered. This is an article on her Medium page. Julia Serrano is talking about how, you know, basically, like, she did this, and she did all of the work to compile all of the data so that we would have access to it in one location, which is amazing. Let's see. Okay, so thank you, Julia, for pointing out gender-affirming healthcare has a long history. First trans-related surgeries were carried out in the 1910s to 1930s. While some doctors were supportive early on, most were quite wary. Skeptical doctors subjected trans people to all sorts of alternate treatments, such as perpetual psychoanalysis or aversion and electroshock therapies, and also administering assigned sex-consistent hormones. Like, for example, if you are assigned male and you believe you are a woman, they would give you testosterone to try to, like, make you not want to be a woman anymore. And, of course, none of those treatments worked. The only treatment that reliably allows trans people to function is transition. And many doctors, I guess, were initially worried that folks would come to regret that decision. However, study after study have shown that gender-affirming care has a far lower regret rate than virtually any other procedure. Amazing. Thank you, Julia Serrano. She's so correct. She's so right. So yeah, doctors have been moving toward this model of affirmative care. Trans children have always existed. Indeed, most trans adults can tell you about their trans childhoods. Some trans kids did socially transition during the 20th century. However, most had their gender identities not affirmed, disaffirmed, subjected them to conversion therapy, and etc. There was a sort of belief at the time that you could change gender identity, like the idea that it was flexible and it was subject to change in your childhood. But we see now, through this study from 1997 and this other study from 2004, that is not the case, that kids do understand their gender identity at a rather young age. Let's see. Yeah, so we've moved toward the gender affirmative model rather than gender disaffirmative model. So it's just recentering things, bringing things away from, shame and coercion, and bringing it to like a place of exploration, and then allowing them to if they consistently identify, persistently, and insistently identify as a gender other than the one that they were assigned at birth, then you should respect their identity. If they remain happy in that gender, they may be placed on puberty blockers, and in order to make an informed decision, always good. Gender-affirming surgeries typically take place after the hormone therapy stage and often in adulthood. A more thorough review of this model and the rationale behind it can be found here for a detailed account of gender-affirming... blah, 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 blah. Yeah, and Julia starts to outline the moral panic, which we cover on this channel quite a lot. The idea that, kids are being transitioned by their parents, or that they are being... tricked into it or coerced into it, or the idea that the parents are being coerced into it by doctors who are catastrophizing that their kids are going to commit suicide. Let's see. I love how Julia goes in here and is defining Gish Gallop. So a Gish Gallop occurs when a debater confronts an opponent with a rapid series of many specious arguments, half-truths, misrepresentations, and outright lies in a short space of time, which makes it impossible for the opponent to refute all of them within the format of a formal debate. Yeah, so it's like you just say like 5 crazy things, and each one of those crazy things would in and of itself take 30 minutes to thoroughly debunk. And so you're like, oh my God, how do I get through all this? Or how do I choose which point to address? Gish Gallops are tricky, tricky, tricky. So in this instance, we have the Gish Gallops are, what about shifting sex ratios? Like the idea that there are more female people thinking that they're trans now, instead of before it used to be more male people thought that they were trans. The idea of rapid onset gender dysphoria or social contagion, the fear of detransition, the idea that 80% desist, the idea that, yeah, this is an attempt at gay conversion or lesbian extinction, the debunked theory of autogynephilia, or that this is a matter of grooming. They just have so many different things. They throw out, they're just like trying to see if anything will stick. They don't have to believe any of it. Okay, let's see. I'm just gonna read a little bit here and find what my next point is. Hit the like button, by the way, if you're enjoying. We are almost to 50 likes. Wouldn't that be something? Maybe throw me a $5 dono. I don't know. I've been streaming for like 2 hours. It would be nice. Just a little $5. Like, thank you. Just to show your appreciation. It's like paying $5 at the door of the comedy club, According to Ray Blanchard, trans men don't exist. Yeah, trans men just don't. We don't. There's no don't. Okay, yeah, so Julia, she starts to outline here that the thing that she is about to address, amongst all these Gish Gallops, is that this idea that gender-affirming practices, whether it be social transition, pubertal delay, hormone therapy, or surgery, they're acting like these are novel and active interventions which require further scrutiny. This framing makes it seem as though the alternative approach, i.e. doing nothing and just letting the kid grow up, is like somehow an inherently neutral and less risky option. But of course, doing nothing is actively disaffirming trans kids' genders. And there, we have plenty of research showing the negative impacts of that approach. So here's a passage discussing this. Children not allowed these freedoms by agents within their developmental systems, such as their family, peers, or school, are at later risk for developing a downward cascade of psychosocial adversities, including depressive symptoms, low life satisfaction, self-harm, isolation, homelessness, incarceration, PTSD, and suicidal ideation and attempts at suicide. So yeah, looking at the studies. Here's an expansion on that from another study in 2018. Emerging research indicates that children who are not permitted to express their gender freely within their key developmental contexts, including family and school, might be at risk of negative psychosocial outcomes. The 23 is a reference number, both in the short term and into adolescence and adulthood, such as low self-esteem, low life satisfaction, poor mental health, lack of adequate housing, post-traumatic stress, and suicidal thoughts and attempts. Canadian research indicates that one of the key areas of distress for trans and gender diverse youth is a lack of parental support. A well-designed provincial survey showed that young people whose gender identities were not strongly supported by their parents face an attempted suicide rate 14 times higher than the peers who are being supported by their parents. So yes, we've just, in all the research, and I guess people generally respond to that by going like, oh, these kids are threatening suicide. You can't let them manipulate you. That's what the psycho-gender critical parents say, the psycho-gender critical moms in their weird little Facebook groups. They say like, excuse me. They say like, you cannot let your kid hold you hostage to the idea that they might hurt themselves. Like, they don't genuinely believe in trans people's inner experiences of distress, I don't think. Like, they genuinely believe that we're just being manipulative and melodramatic when we say that we want to die. Oh my god, anyway. I'm gonna drink more water, because holy cow, that was a really gnarly cough. Okay. Let's see. Any article examining gender-affirming care that doesn't even attempt to grapple with all of this research demonstrating the very real negative effects. Ooh, thank you, Noah. Thank you so much for the $5 dono. They said, I appreciate nothing. I just feel bad you're sitting at 0 for the stream. QQ. 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 Well, thank you for your dono anyway. I appreciate it. It's just, it seems like it's a weird time of year for people. I'm just like I've been streaming throughout September and October, and I just haven't been getting quite as much donos. It's not a big deal. It's just interesting to observe. But yes, I have plenty of Patreon money to deal with my groceries. Thank you so much. I've also been back at the gym, and y'all just can't see it. It's not allowed. You can't see. It's gonna be really, listen, you're gonna be really hoping for hitting the dono goal in about like a month. When we get to be about Christmas time, girl, because I'm going way harder on actually trying to escalate my weights at the gym this time. I'm not going so hard as to harm myself, but I am going to make a deliberate point of actually trying to increase my weights a little bit more. Excuse me. So, you're gonna be sad. All right, let's resume. Okay. Goodness gracious, I'm just so disgusting today. So yeah, Julia continues, any article examining gender-affirming care that doesn't even attempt to grapple with all of this research demonstrating the very real negative effects that gender disaffirming approaches inflict on trans youth is kind of telling on itself. There is a giant red flag here that the author either didn't bother to properly do the research or made up their mind beforehand and purposely hid the information. If I die tomorrow, I will die knowing I did something true. With a $5 dono, you could have given yourself dicks. You didn't want the dicks? Can we get some dicks in chat, please? Okay. So here Julia dives into the idea that the treatment is irreversible. the supposedly passive and neutral do-nothing approach forces trans adolescents into unwanted endogenous puberties. So while anti-trans activists are quick to decry gender-affirming approaches as being irreversible and involving, quote, a lifetime of medicalization, they don't actually ever discuss how restricting gender-affirming care results in similar irreversible changes for trans youth, and which also require them to pay for expensive medical procedures like surgery and hair removal. And that would not have been necessary, of course. We've talked about this a million times. Oh, this is it. Yeah, this is good. Consider a cisgender girl who has always been happy with her assigned gender. Then suddenly, at the age of 9 or 10, just as she enters puberty, her body shows signs of masculinization, and doctors confirm that this is due to her body producing testosterone. And for the record, this is not a hypothetical situation for some intersex children. If this child were horrified about those unwanted changes and they asked for hormonal intervention, which the doctor confirms would be safe and effective, would you respect that decision and allow her to proceed? Or would you dismiss her wishes on account of her lack of maturity and insist that she just deal with the testosterone until she's 18 and capable of making an adult decision? As with the last example, if this scenario concerns you, but the idea of transgender children being forced to experience unwanted puberties does not, then you clearly value cis bodies and lives over trans ones. So I do think that there is actually a pretty big flaw to this example. And the flaw to this example is that that's an intersex child. Like, as soon as they find out that they're intersex, like, the world does not treat them like a cisgender person anymore. Like, that child, it would not be about her choice. They would just do things to her and change her whether she wanted it or not. They would just try to normalize her, you know? Like, it's still in line with the inflicting cisgenderism on a trans kid. They're just going to inflict cisgenderism on the intersex kid as well. Anyway. Yeah, the idea that the care is experimental, you know, they insist that this care is new and untested. However, this is not true. She references a ton of research studies here. This is, the experimental label is most regularly levied against puberty blockers, probably because the average person is not familiar with them. However, they've been used to treat precocious puberty since the 1980s and to stave off unwanted endogenous puberties in trans youth since the mid to late 90s. So it's like, yeah, we've been using them for trans youth since the 90s as well, not just for precocious puberty in cisgender children. The parents and doctors make all the decisions, and they don't even tell the kid they're intersex half the time. Yeah, they're just like, we're going to do a bunch of stuff to you and not ask what you think about it. We also should address the common claim that gender-affirming care is not based on any, quote, high-quality studies. In actuality, there are many high-quality studies with sound methodologies, significant sample sizes, and which are published in well-respected journals. However, when trans-skeptical people argue this, what they really mean is there aren't any randomized control studies, such as ones where neither the doctor nor the patient know whether that person is receiving the medicine or whether they're receiving a placebo. And this is the gold standard for medical trials. However, it's not logistically possible in this situation because it would be very obvious soon which ones were on hormones and which ones weren't, obviously. The thing they tell you, the kid, is that you have a hormonal imbalance. Yeah, oh, you just have a little hormonal imbalance, so we're just going to put you on this medicine. Or we're just going to, like, do a surgery on you. Like, you know, we're just going to do some stuff. Like, a little kid who was starting to develop in a masculine way like that would probably just have their testicles removed because they clearly have internal testes producing testosterone. They would just have them forcibly removed. Okay, we're reading more. Okay, so there is a good point to be made here about, like, rapid onset gender dysphoria or the social contagion issue. It's, like, impossible to address every single issue in a given sit down. So what you can say is that, if any of this rapid onset gender dysphoria stuff were true, we would expect this to be reflected in recent studies. Like, there would be a sharp reduction in the efficacy of gender affirming care if it was just being done as a trend, and there would be a reciprocal increase in the rate of regret. But there isn't a reciprocal increase in the rate of regret. There isn't like a growing number of regretful cases, which you would naturally see in response to this. A brief timeline of the gender affirmative model for trans youth. In the mid-1990s, doctors in the Netherlands began treating trans adolescents with puberty blockers at the onset of puberty, and they would follow that up with gender-affirming hormones around age 16, which came to be known as the Dutch protocol, or the Dutch model. During the 2000s, then, numerous groups in the US and elsewhere began adopting the Dutch protocol. In May 2008, NPR ran a two-part series, which was the first mainstream news story about this that Julia can recall. One of the episodes compared and contrasted the reparative/conversion therapy approach with what we would now call the gender affirmative approach. And in another one, they were discussing the Dutch approach. And these news stories are now 15 years old. In 2009, the Endocrine Society published practice guidelines for trans healthcare, which recommend puberty delay, followed by gender-affirming hormones for trans adolescents. Subsequently, in 2012, the WPATH Standard of Care version 7 expanded its section on trans children and adolescents. They're continuing to validate the Dutch approach, including a section on social transition in early childhood, describing gender reparative and conversion practices as ineffective and unethical. The Dutch have been anti-LGBT for a long time. Well, in this case, it's a positive, because they're saying the Dutch model is the model where you provide puberty blockers, and then you give cross-sex hormones at age 16. Now, we don't always stick to that age, per se, but, like, that is considered... if your mom can sign off on you getting a tattoo at age 16, then, like, your mom should be able to sign off on you getting hormones at age 16, I guess is kind of how that works. It's like, by age 16, and in a lot of places in the United States, like, you can consent to medical care at age 16 anyway. Like, most types of medical care in any case. Over the 2000s, as the puberty delay followed by gender-affirming hormones was becoming the standard practice, the debate shifted more toward younger children. So the Dutch group was not in favor of any interventions for prepubescent gender dysphoric children. However, other trans health practitioners began advocating for a social transition. So, yeah, this is, I guess even in the Dutch model, they were like, perhaps it's because they consider the social affirmation to be a separate thing from the medical stuff, but they basically didn't say you should do social affirmation for young trans kids. It mostly was like, no, you start treating them when they start puberty, essentially. Over the last 10 years, the gender affirmative model has become more accepted than the watchful waiting model because we have an increasing understanding of the psychological harms associated with disaffirming young children, and there's a recognition that this, quote, 80% desistance claim was methodologically flawed. And, like, just to explain the methodologically flawed comment there were basically, it's like they had a gender clinic where you could take your kid who's having the first inklings of questions about their gender, and then you determine which one of those kids is actually insistent, persistent trans versus which ones just were enjoying pretending to be Captain Hook. You know what I mean? Like, so there's, that 80% is like how many of those kids who had a kind of gender question were found to not be trans. Like, sometimes kids do have gender questions, and that's why we have the process to help determine which ones are going to be insistent and persistent with their gender identity. So yeah, you can't claim that this means that 80% of kids who think that they're trans will decide that they're not before they're adults. It's like, no, kids who actually think that they are trans, that 20% stick with it. Okay, let's see. Research substantiates that children who are prepubertal and assert an identity of being transgender and gender diverse, they know their gender as clearly and as consistently as their developmentally equivalent peers who identify as cisgender, and they benefit from the same level of social acceptance. It's like, it's pretty easy to just support them. Watchful waiting is based on binary notions of gender, in which gender diversity and fluidity is pathologized. In watchful waiting, it is also assumed that notions of gender identity become fixed at a certain age. The approach is also influenced by a group of early studies with validity concerns, methodologic flaws, and limited follow-up on children who identified as TGD, and by adolescents did not seek further treatment. Yeah, that's the other thing too, is like, there was limited follow-up on these studies as well. Excuse me. I heard a case of an intersex girl being told she had to take testosterone when the parents and doctors guessed she was a boy and didn't want to accept her opinion on that. Oh my god, it's just horrific what we do to intersex kids. Yeah, Julia Serrano here includes an obligatory list of position statements in support of gender-affirming care. You know, American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, American Academy of Pediatrics, American Medical Association, American Psychiatric Association, American Psychological Association, Endocrine Society, Pediatric Endocrine Society, WPATH Standards of Care. These position statements and clinical guidelines are often invoked in an appeal to authority-type manner. Anti-trans activists, on the other hand, will insist that all these groups have been, quote, ideologically captured by trans people, which is utterly fanciful. For the record, I do not believe that these organizations are infallible. Obviously, yeah, they've contributed to the marginalization of trans people in the past. But the one thing that is undoubtedly true is that all of these organizations are inherently conservative, often to a fault. And the fact that they all support gender-affirmative care and condemn gender disaffirming practices is a testament to how much scientific evidence has been amassed over the last 3 decades. Because these organizations are like, they're not psyched about change. They're not like, hell yeah, let's do things differently. No, they are resistant to change. They're conservative. It takes a lot of evidence to make them change their practices. So here we have the list of research we have the list of research studies and reviews supporting the current scientific consensus that gender disaffirming approaches are harmful and that gender affirming approaches are beneficial, sorted by year. And like, so, you know, I'll try to put a link to this in the doobly-doo if I remember to do that. Because this is, well, here, I'll at least put a link in the chat so that you all can see. Because this is an article written by Julia Serrano, but the reason why it's valuable is that she is quoting all of these articles. Like, if you wanted to know what the studies say, she's not just saying that gender-affirming care is effective. She's saying, I'm referencing this other study that was done, or several studies that were done in some cases, and saying, look, yeah, this is what they saying, look, this is what they actually say. They actually say that the gender affirmative model, particularly for trans kids, is useful for their mental health. It's good for them. It's healthy for them. So shout out to Julia Serrano for doing that enormous legwork. It's so useful. I'm going to bookmark the page so that I don't lose it. I need to organize my bookmarks. Anybody else have like an entire thing of bookmarks? They're like, I need to go through the last 10 years of my bookmarks and start getting rid of things that I don't need anymore. Because I'm definitely feeling that nowadays. Oh, geez. Okay. Is there anything else that we should discuss toward the end of stream here? I can definitely smell the pot roast happening. There's definitely pot roast happening. Blair White also is against trans kids. Well, I mean, she'll at least claim to be against trans kids, but she also says that she knew that she was trans when she was 5. So really, she's just a terrible human being who has no morals. She has no guts or values. I have multiple different bookmarks in multiple browsers. Oh no! At least I have basically only used Google Chrome. I don't know, do I have any bookmarks in Mozilla Firefox that I need to go recover? Oh my god, that's the worst. There are so many recipes in my bookmarks. I don't really bookmark recipes because I don't really follow recipes, at least not for cooking. If I had a baking recipe that I really loved, I would probably just write it down in my notebook. But yeah, I just look up like 5 different recipes and then I make something based on roughly what those 5 different recipes said. Didn't she transition as a teen? Was Blair White a teenager in 2015? I got the impression that she was like roughly the same age as me. So my guess is that she started transition in her 20s. How old is she? Have I looked this up? I feel like I've looked this up before. How old is Blair White? She's 30. Yeah, she just turned 30. So she's like 6 months older than me. She started transitioning the same year I did. Because I started testosterone. Well, I mean, I was socially out before then for like several years. But I started testosterone in 2015. I never use bookmarks. My brain keeps a record of how I found a thing. I don't understand you. You're a witch as far as I'm concerned. What do you mean you remember? That's crazy. I don't believe you. I'm just gonna remain in disbelief of you. Oh gosh. I think it's time to remove the bones. Do we feel like I should remove the bones? They've been a very lovely set of decor, but like, I don't know. Halloween's over, man. Keep the spirit alive. It's never over. Also, testosterone can be taken by mouth. No, it kind of can't. We haven't figured out how to put testosterone in a pill without it really fucking up your liver pretty seriously. I only have to drive somewhere once to remember forever. Dude, we have like an annual barbecue that we go to every year, and I can never remember how to get there. But it's, I think, partially because, you know, there's construction, and so I've taken a different route each time I've gone there, basically. So in my defense, yeah, every time we go there, though, I'm just like, I make my partner do the nav. I'm like, I don't want to try to remember all these country roads. Halloween starts at the beginning of October and ends never. True. Halloween never ends. It's forever. It's forever and forever and forever. Gothness never ends. I just had the strange urge to, like, draw a spider web on the side of my head. Yup. Yup. So I'm glad that we read that article. I love Julia Serrano. She's great. I've been, like, following her. Did Julia Serrano used to write for Bellerico? Because if so, I've been following her since she was on Bellerico, on the Bellerico project. Yeah. Oh, wait, no, maybe she wasn't on there. But yeah, God, that was forever ago. Hello, Candy Rain. Welcome in. We're probably going to be winding down before too terribly long. It's definitely getting to that place in the day where it's like, okay, we can smell that there's food. I'm definitely hungry. That's the one thing about going to the gym, is that it's like the hunger really kicks in and you're like, I really need to eat. Like, I need it. So, I made beef pot roast, carrots, potatoes, you know, good shit. Does my name Candy Rain sound familiar to you? I mean, honestly, I'm like reaching the end of a 3-hour stream. Or hold on, I guess it's been like a little bit more than 2 hours. Man, I gotta figure out this schedule. So no, I'm not. It's not ringing any bells right this second. Drink water, babes. Never stop. I'm trying to think if there's anything else we should cover before we wrap up tonight. I feel like I don't really care about this enough to make it a segment because I think that J.K. Rowling should just die in obscurity already. But this tweet says, I agree. Treating trans women like predators when they're statistically far more likely to be victims of a sexual crime is indeed disgusting. We shouldn't be treating women this way. And J.K. Rowling responds saying, good for you, Zachary. Some rapists' rights activists prefer to do their misogyny from behind an anime cartoon, but you're proudly doing it under your own name. Just don't go looking for any facts that might contradict your fallacious argument. Rapists need brave guys like you. Like, I just want to say that J.K. Rowling has gone fully off the deep end because it is statistically, objectively the case that trans women are far more likely to be victimized. They're more likely to be victims of male sexual violence than they are to be perpetrators. And not only that, but if the American statistics can be reflective of what's going on in the UK, trans women actually have a higher lifetime rate of sexual assault than cisgender women do. Like, cisgender women have like a roughly 1 in 5 or 20% rate of sexual assault, whereas transgender women have like a roughly 30 to 33% rate of lifetime sexual assault. So yeah, J.K. Rowling is just fully on the train of the assumption that trans women are all predators. Like, that there is no such thing as a trans woman who is a trans woman, and like that blaming trans women for male violence is wrong. Like, she doesn't believe that. She believes that all trans women are complicit and they're rapists. Like, J.K. Rowling, like, were you raped by a crossdresser? Like, is that what happened? Because she was like sexually assaulted, and that's what she talks about it. Like, she's like, oh, this is why I have this trauma because of my experience with sexual assault. It's like, stop making that other women's problem, though. But that's the thing, is she does not see trans women as women. She does not see this as her harming women. She's literally blind. She literally is going to, in your face, say, I don't believe that trans women are ever victims of male violence. Like, that's basically what she's implying here. So I just think, you know, she's pathetic and she should die alone already. It seems like someone would slap her with a defamation lawsuit for accusing them falsely of supporting rapists' rights. It's liable for her to accuse them. But what are you gonna do? But, like, what are you gonna do against all the money that she has? And if Zachary is in the United States and J.K. Rowling is overseas, like, how do you figure out where to sue her at? Oh, is Candy Rain supposed to be like Chocolate Rain? Good night, Noah. Any hoozle. It's named after the R&B soul song Candy Rain by the band Soul for Real. It was #1 in the 1990s. It's a great song. Well, cool. I've never heard it before. Can I just say thank you so much to y'all who are hanging out. You're holding us steady at like 40 viewers or so. That's lovely. It's so nice. Just having like a group of people who are here to chill. They're here to chill. They're here to hang. Here to hang. Wait. How is she not progressive? Wait, what? Who are we talking about? I'm not sure what we're talking about in the YouTube chat right now. J.K. Rowling threatens others with libel suits. Well, it's because of the way that the law is written in the UK. Like, they don't have free speech the way that we do here, and it's much easier to get someone on a libel, on like a libel charge there than it is here. So it's easier for, if you're an American, you should loudly say J.K. Rowling is a transphobe and a TERF, because she can't sue you in the same way that she can sue someone in the UK. My fiance, oh, that's so nice. Oh. Kitty Tick just got engaged yesterday. That's sweet. I was asking if anybody watched the new Kidology video in YouTube chat. Oh, I don't know who that is. I feel like I keep having to remind myself who Kidology is. Oh, I don't follow this person. I do not know. I don't think I know this person. Someone said that Kidology was not progressive. Oh, okay. Well, I have no idea. I can't weigh in on this because I don't know who she is. The UK is very misogynistic. Well, everywhere across the world is very misogynistic. I genuinely don't know of any countries that aren't. Like, I don't know of any place in the world that isn't misogynistic. What's going on Twitter tonight, huh? Twitter. I don't really like being here, but it's easier for me to scroll Twitter while... Well, I guess Blue Sky is pretty good about censoring the boobies when they cross the timeline. J.K. Rowling has more money than any of us could ever imagine. Yeah, J.K., why don't you just give me, like, $500,000 and I will stop making content. Like, I will, like, for $500,000, I will just go away forever, okay? It's not even that expensive, all right? They say misogyny is the oldest bigotry. Yeah, I actually think it's, like, hard to say. I wonder which is more deeply rooted. Is misogyny more deeply rooted, or is ableism more deeply rooted? I don't know. I almost think that, like, we used to treat the disabled fine, but maybe we started hating on women. I'm not sure. When did that happen? Everything on Twitter, like, I go to Twitter, and it's just constantly, like, Gaza, 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 Gaza. And I'm like, yes, that's important. And that's why I cycle between Twitter and Blue Sky and Facebook, because sometimes I just need my brain to have a little bit of a break. And that's a lot of what I've been retweeting as well. So I guess I'm part of why that is the ecosystem over there right now. Maybe we have evidence that pre-modern hominids cared for their sick and injured. Yeah, haven't we found, like, old human remains that had, like, a healed femur? Or is that just, like, a hypothetical, like, when we find the first healed femur, we will know that we have discovered the beginning of civilization, basically. We're gonna get married on the 29th of next year. Oh, that's so sweet. I sometimes think to myself, because my partner and I didn't have a wedding, I'm like, would I want to have a wedding? Like, I don't know, I wonder. Oh, the February next year. Nice. If I could take a testosterone blocker by mouth, then you can take testosterone by mouth. Bro, I don't even want to go into the logic of that. They're two different things. A testosterone blocker is some kind of material that binds to your testosterone receptors to prevent your body from using the testosterone that's actively in it currently, whereas the other one is the actual drug testosterone. Just to reiterate, it will fuck up your liver. There's like a reason why we don't do testosterone pills. You know, the girlies, they have the option to do pills or injections, but for us, it's like you have to do injections or maybe the gel, but those are like the main ways to get it because a pill would hurt you badly. Shockingly, my mother, father, and sister will probably be at the wedding. They're Mormon, still not sure how they're gonna take me in my dress. Honestly, like, are you going to invite them and risk the drama of that? Because I would not want to. Ooh, we hit 50 likes. Thank you so much. Yeah, exactly, Jay. An anthropologist said that the healed femur is the sign of the beginning of human civilization because animals don't care for their sick and injured in the same way. Well, I don't actually know that that's the case either because ducks will care for, like, one duck will hang out with the injured duck until they're healed. Or maybe that's geese. I might be thinking of geese. But you're right, generally speaking, for the most part. If you are in the wild and you break your leg, you're fucking done for. Beautiful. Why is Clarence Thomas trending? Why? 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 Get out of here. Clarence Thomas's billionaire friend Harlan Crow reportedly has a financial stake in at least 4 cases coming before the Supreme Court. Thomas has yet to recuse himself. Oh my god, really? Elephants who lose their trunks to injury are fed by other herd members. And I've also seen there was like a crow whose beak got damaged and her bonded partner fed her for the rest of her life. Like, because she couldn't eat food on her own. I think it was like the top part of her beak was like broken off. And so he was like feeding her. I'm just like, why are we talking about Clarence Thomas right now? Oh, this is pretty funny. Excuse me. You can schedule on a calendar a monthly story where Clarence Thomas, i.e. Clearance Thomas, is either getting property vacations or loans for free. That's pretty fucking funny, dude. Clearance Thomas, cause he's for sale on clearance. That's pretty fucking good. It's pretty fucking good. It's not bad, TBH. Oh, jeez. It could be a matter of higher cognition. Well, sure, yeah. It's like animals that rely on social support to survive are probably going to be more prone to support and help their disabled counterparts. Animals teaching us how to be human. Oh my gosh. Today I did Arms Day, and Arms Day includes rowing. And rowing works your back, so my back is sore. Yay. Oh, God. I gotta start taking more gym selfies so that I can post the thirst traps on the timeline. Gym selfies. I cleaned my house finally and feel happy. TBH, the fact that I don't have enough time to maintain the cleanliness of my house is why I'm like, what is wrong with my schedule? Like, what's up with it? Jiminy Christmas. I'm still trying to figure out if something specific happened with Clarence Thomas. Like, why are you trending right now? He's trending but not dead. So this person's like, I hate this place. That always sucks. When you see that a celebrity you want to die is trending. Like, look at... And Roseanne is also trending right now. Like, oh, I bet she's not dead, though. Why is this trending? This is a tweet from Eli Ehrlich from November 4. Why is she showing as trending? Why are people talking about her? I really don't understand why sometimes Twitter decides that things are trending. Okay, she did speak at a Trump rally on November 8th, I guess. So this happened. I'm going to try really hard to keep cleaning every day now, just 21 days to make a habit. Well, so the thing about once your house is like clean, you don't have to deep clean it every time you clean, right? It's like that's one of the things about leaving the cleaning for some future date, is that the cleaning is going to be much easier to do now than it is going to be to do in a month. So if you can get into that habit of like, okay, the kitchen is now clean, so now I'm going to get into a habit of like after dinner every night, I'm going to clean up the kitchen. Or maybe even like while you're cooking dinner, like if you have some onions sauteing and they don't need to be constantly stirred, maybe you should start washing the cutting board that you use to cut the onions, you know, like getting into those kind of habits where you're just addressing things as they happen, excuse me, is probably going to be a lot more useful. So, I think that the stream is winding down. I'm winding down. I'm going to kind of think on the schedule for the stream, because, like, I start so late in the evening right now. I think I need to start earlier or change which days or something. So look forward to potentially hearing some changes to the show. We'll see how that goes. In the meantime, enjoy your dicks. Enjoy, you know, why is my hair so weird? Anyway, enjoy my calic being an absolute fool. Christ on a cracker. All right. And, yeah, I will be planning to see you all on Sunday. Okay? Love you. Bye.